The human ship Harmony drifted through space like a gentle giant. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge watching the stars through the main window. His uniform was neat and clean, just like every other human in the galaxy wore when dealing with aliens. They had learned to look harmless over the past 30 years. "Captain, we're getting close to Zentara Prime," said his second officer, Lieutenant Ben Clark. The young man's voice carried no excitement. This was just another diplomatic mission, another chance for humans to ask politely for what other species took by force. Morrison nodded. "Wake up the ambassador. Tell her we'll be there in 2 hours." Deep in the ship's guest quarters, Ambassador Lisa Grant was already awake. She had been reviewing her speech for the 100th time. 30 years of careful words and patient smiles had brought humanity this far. Today would be different, she told herself. Today the Federation would finally see humans as equals. Grant was a small woman, with gray hair and kind eyes. She had spent most of her life talking to aliens who looked down on her species. The Zephyrians with their insect bodies and cold minds. The Nephrites who lived in water and thought air breathers were primitive. The crystal-like Luxari who saw humans as barely intelligent animals, but Grant believed in peace. She believed that if humans just kept being reasonable, kept following the rules, kept proving they weren't dangerous, then someday they would earn respect. She was wrong. The Harmony entered the Zentara system, along with ships from dozens of other species. Federation space was always busy with traffic. Cargo ships, passenger vessels, and warships from every corner of the galaxy traveled the same routes. Human ships were easy to spot. They were smaller, simpler, and always traveled alone. Other species moved in fleets. They showed their strength openly. Humans had been taught to hide theirs. "Ambassador, we're being escorted to the diplomatic station," Morrison announced over the ship's communication system. "Admiral Carter's ship is already docked." Admiral Helen Carter was the highest-ranking human in Federation space. She commanded a small fleet of patrol ships that mostly rescued stranded vessels and protected human colonies from pirates. The Federation had made sure human military power stayed weak. The diplomatic station orbited Zentara Prime like a metal moon. Inside its crystal halls, representatives from 47 species gathered to make decisions that affected billions of lives. Humans had been allowed to watch these meetings for 30 years. Today, they finally had permission to speak. Grant walked through the station's corridors with careful steps. Aliens of every shape and size moved around her. Some floated in special atmosphere suits. Others skittered on multiple legs. A few existed as pure energy contained in metal shells. All of them stared at the human woman as she passed. Humans were famous throughout the galaxy. Everyone knew the story of the species that came from a death world, a planet so dangerous that simply surviving there was considered impossible. Earth was a nightmare of weather, earthquakes, diseases, and predators. Most aliens couldn't understand how anything could evolve in such conditions. But humans had not just survived Earth. They had conquered it. The Federation Council met in a great crystal dome that could hold thousands of beings. Grant took her place at the small platform reserved for petitioning species. Above her, the real members of the Federation sat, in their grand seats looking down like judges. Chancellor Vexitai of the Zephyrians spoke first. His insect head clicked as he moved, and his multiple eyes focused on Grant with cold attention. "The human petition has been reviewed. You may present your case." Grant stepped forward. Her voice was calm and clear as she spoke. "Honored members of the Federation, humanity has served this alliance faithfully for 30 years. We have followed every law, honored every treaty, and proved our commitment to peace. We ask now for what we have earned: equal representation in this council, and the removal of military restrictions that limit our ability to defend our colonies." The speech continued for 20 minutes. Grant presented facts and figures showing human contributions to Federation science, trade, and security. She showed records of human colonies that had shared their resources with alien refugees. She reminded the Council of Human Scientists who had solved problems that had puzzled other species for centuries. When she finished, the dome was silent. Then Chancellor Vextai began to laugh. The sound was like breaking glass mixed with scratching metal. Soon other aliens joined in. The laughter echoed through the crystal dome until it became a roar of amusement. "You believe you have earned equality?" Vextai asked, his voice dripping with contempt. "You come from a savage world and think this makes you special. Yes, you survived your planet's dangers, but this only proves you are violent and unpredictable. The restrictions on your species exist for good reason." Admiral Carter stepped forward from the observation area. Her uniform displayed the simple rank badges of human military service, nothing compared to the elaborate decorations worn by alien officers. "Chancellor, our record speaks for itself. In 30 years, humans have never started a conflict or broken a treaty. Because you have been kept weak," replied Aqua Lord Nethys of the Nephrites. His water-filled suit bubbled as he spoke. "Remove our controls, and you would become the monsters your world created." The vote was swift and brutal. 46 species voted against the human petition. 0 voted in favor. Not even the Corvin, who had always been friendly to humans, supported them. But Chancellor Vextai wasn't finished. "The Federation Council has decided that current restrictions are insufficient. Effective immediately, all human colonies will be relocated to designated reservation worlds. Your population will be managed to prevent overgrowth. Your movements will be monitored to ensure galactic safety." Grant felt the blood drain from her face. Around her, the few other humans in the dome sat in stunned silence. This wasn't just rejection, it was slavery. "You cannot be serious." "Admiral," Carter said, her voice barely controlled. "We are completely serious," Vextai replied. "You have 30 days to begin compliance. Federation fleets will enforce this decision if necessary." Grant looked up at the alien faces surrounding her. She saw no sympathy, no doubt. No recognition that they were talking about the enslavement of an entire species. To them, humans were just another problem to be managed. She stood slowly, her dignity intact despite the crushing weight of defeat. Admiral Carter joined her, along with Captain Morrison and the other humans present. Without a word, they walked toward the exit. Behind them, aliens congratulated each other on solving the human problem once and for all. None of them noticed the look in human eyes as they left. It wasn't fear or sadness or even anger. It was something much more dangerous. The cold, patient calculation of predators who had just been given a reason to stop pretending they were prey. The Deathworlders were done playing fair. As the human delegation ship departed Zentara Prime, emergency signals began transmitting on quantum-encrypted channels throughout human space. The signals were short and simple, using codes that had been prepared decades ago, but never activated. The sleeping giant was finally waking up. The message reached Earth 12 hours after the Federation Council meeting. President Danny Rodriguez sat in his office in Geneva, reading the report for the 3rd time. His hands shook slightly as he set down the tablet. "They want to put us in cages," he said to his aide, Secretary of Defense Carol White. "After 30 years of following their rules, they want to treat us like animals." White nodded grimly. "The Global Assembly is meeting in emergency session. Every colony governor is demanding action. Sir, the people are angry." Rodriguez walked to his window and looked out at the peaceful city below. Humans went about their daily lives, not knowing that alien species across the galaxy had just voted to enslave them all. Soon everything would change. "Send the activation codes," he said quietly. "All of them." On Mars, Lieutenant Colonel Amy Parker received her orders at 300 local time. She had been expecting them for years, though she hoped they would never come. Her small garrison at Firebase Alpha looked like any other human military post. A few buildings, some outdated equipment, and soldiers who seemed more interested in playing cards than fighting wars. The Federation inspectors who visited every year saw exactly what they expected to see. They never looked too closely at the storage bunkers marked as supply depots. Parker walked across the red sand to Bunker 7. Her handprint and retinal scan opened locks that hadn't been touched in decades. Inside, rows of sealed containers stretched into the darkness. She opened the first crate and smiled grimly at what she found. The rifle in her hands was nothing like the simple weapons the Federation allowed humans to carry. It hummed with barely contained energy, its smart metal surface shifting to match her grip perfectly. The ammunition didn't use bullets. It fired concentrated packets of matter that could punch through starship armor. "Colonel, all bunkers are open," reported Sergeant Mike Torres. "We've got enough gear here to outfit a division." "Then let's get to work," Parker replied. "We have a galaxy to surprise." Similar scenes played out across human space. On Europa Station, engineer Paul Stevens activated manufacturing protocols that had been hidden in the base computer systems for 30 years. The station's factories had been building cargo ships and civilian transports. At least, that's what the production record showed. Stevens walked through the main assembly bay, watching as robotic arms peeled away false hull plates from a ship that had been listed as a grain hauler. Underneath was armor plating that could withstand antimatter explosions. Hidden weapon ports opened like blooming flowers, revealing energy cannons that violated every Federation treaty on military technology. "How many ships do we have like this?" asked his assistant engineer Linda Chang. "Every cargo vessel built in the last 15 years, Stevens replied. "Plus about 200 others that don't officially exist." Chang stared at the transformed ship. "The Federation is going to lose their minds when they see this." "That's the point," Stevens said. "On the agricultural world of New Kansas, farmer Tony Blake walked through his wheat fields in the early morning light. To any observer, he looked like a simple man tending his crops. The Federation agricultural inspectors had visited just last month, commenting on his excellent harvest yields. They had no idea that beneath every field lay hidden bunkers filled with military equipment. Blake opened the concealed entrance to Storage Complex 3. Inside, rows of battle armor waited in the darkness. Each suit was a masterpiece of human engineering, containing technology that made the wearer faster, stronger, and deadlier than any alien warrior. "Dad, the neighbors are asking questions," said his daughter, Maria Blake, a former military engineer who had been farming for the past 5 years. "Tell them the truth," Blake replied. "We're getting ready for harvest season." It wasn't a lie. Humans had been planted throughout the galaxy for 30 years, pretending to be peaceful farmers, merchants, and scientists. Now it was time to harvest what they had sown. On Earth, Dr. Kevin Walsh unlocked research files that had been buried so deep that most humans had forgotten they existed. The basement levels of the Global Research Institute contained laboratories that had been sealed since humanity joined the Federation. Walsh walked through rooms filled with projects that had been deemed too dangerous for civilized space. Genetic enhancement programs that could create super soldiers, cybernetic implants that turned humans into living computers, biological weapons designed to target specific alien species, nanotechnology that could consume entire planets. "My God," whispered his research partner, Dr. Nancy Kim. "We really were preparing for war this whole time." "Not war," Walsh corrected. "Evolution. The Federation thought they could keep us as their pet Deathworlders forever. They forgot that evolution never stops." The quantum communication networks hidden throughout human space carried millions of messages, 30 years of careful planning, activated in a single day. Supply ships changed course to secret destinations. Colonial militias emerged from hiding. Research stations began producing weapons that existed only in theoretical papers. But the most important changes were happening in human minds. For 3 decades, humans had been taught to be ashamed of their violent nature. They apologized for being from Earth, for being stronger and faster than most aliens, for having instincts that other species found frightening. They had learned to walk quietly, speak softly, and never remind anyone that they came from a world that had tried to kill them every single day. Now, for the first time in 30 years, humans remembered what they really were. Captain Rick Taylor stood on the bridge of his patrol ship, the Defiance, and smiled as he read the activation codes. His ship had been disguised as a simple border patrol vessel for 15 years. Federation inspectors had examined it dozens of times, never realizing they were looking at the most advanced warship ever built. "Sir, we're receiving similar signals from every human ship in the sector," reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Sarah Jones. Everyone's dropping their covers. Good, Taylor replied. Send a message to Admiral Carter. Tell her the fleet is ready. What fleet, sir? Federation records show we only have 47 ships in active service. Taylor's smile grew wider. Send her the real numbers, Lieutenant. All 800 ships. Jones stared at her console in shock. 800? But how did we hide them? We didn't hide them, Taylor explained. We hid what they were. Every cargo ship, every passenger liner, every mining vessel built in human space for the past 30 years was designed for war. We just painted them to look peaceful. Across the galaxy, alien intelligence services began detecting unusual activity in human space. Zephyrian scouts reported increased communication traffic. Nephrite sensors picked up strange energy signatures. Luxari analysts noted changes in human behavior patterns. But the aliens dismissed these signs as panic and confusion. The primitive Deathworlders were probably arguing among themselves about how to surrender properly. Some might even be foolish. Enough to resist, but that would only make the final outcome more certain. The Federation had overwhelming numbers. Human technology was decades behind alien science. Any resistance would be crushed quickly and efficiently. The aliens had made two critical errors in their calculations. First, they assumed human technology was primitive because humans had been using simple equipment for 30 years. They never considered that this might be intentional. Second, they thought they understood human psychology because they had been dealing with diplomatic humans for 3 decades. They had never met the humans who came from Earth. In his office on New Terra, the largest human colony, Governor Frank Roberts received his final orders. He looked out at the peaceful city where humans and aliens had lived together in harmony for 20 years. That harmony was about to end. Governor, the last Federation inspection team left yesterday, reported his security chief, Colonel Beth Martin. We're clear to begin Phase 2. Roberts nodded. Send the message to all colonies. Tell them it's time to stop pretending. The message was simple. The masquerade is over. Show them what Deathworlders really are. Across human space, the transformation began. Humans who had spent their lives apologizing for their strength stood up straight for the first time in decades. Soldiers who had been pretending to use outdated equipment revealed weapons that made alien technology look like toys. Scientists who had been sharing their discoveries began hoarding secrets that could reshape the galaxy. The Federation thought they had given humans 30 days to surrender. They had actually given humans 30 days to prepare for war, and humans had been preparing for much longer than 30 years. They had been preparing for this moment since the first day they looked up at the stars and decided they belonged there. The Deathworlders were done being ashamed of what they were. Now they were going to remind the galaxy why Earth was called a death world in the first place. The message reached every Federation world at exactly the same time. Admiral Helen Carter appeared on communication screens across the galaxy, standing on the bridge of a ship that nobody had ever seen before. The vessel behind her was massive, stretching nearly a kilometer from bow to stern. Its hull was black as space itself, covered in weapons that seemed to bend light around them. The name painted on its side read, Defiance, in simple white letters. For 30 years, Carter said, her voice calm and steady, humanity has followed your rules. We have accepted your restrictions. We have pretended to be less than we are. That ends today. The transmission showed dozens of similar ships floating in space behind her. Each one was larger and more advanced than anything in the Federation fleet. The aliens watching the broadcast felt their confidence crumble like sand. You have given us 30 days to surrender our freedom, Carter continued. Here is our answer. The screen went black. Then a single word appeared in letters that seemed to burn with their own light. No. On Zentara Prime, Chancellor Vextai screamed orders at his military commanders. How did they build those ships? Where did they come from? Intelligence Chief Ralphie of the Luxari was frantically searching through 30 years of inspection reports. Sir, our records show humans building only cargo vessels and small patrol craft. These warships, they shouldn't exist. But they do exist, Admiral Kretar of the Zephyrian fleet pointed out. And if they can build ships like that, what else have they been hiding? Vextai's insect eyes focused on the holographic display, showing human space. It doesn't matter. We have 300 ships. Even if their technology is advanced, we have superior numbers. Order the fleets to attack. The first battle began at Proxima Colony, humanity's oldest settlement outside the Sol system. Commander Rick Taylor waited in his command chair as 3 Federation fleets approached. 60 ships from 3 different species, all confident they were about to crush a small human outpost. "Sir, we're detecting 48 vessels approaching," reported Lieutenant Sarah Jones. "Zephyrian heavy cruisers, Nephrite battle platforms, and Luxari energy ships." "How many ships do we have?" Taylor asked calmly. 12, sir," Taylor smiled. "More than enough. Begin the demonstration." The human ships moved like nothing the Federation had ever seen. They twisted through space as if the laws of physics were suggestions rather than rules. Their weapons fired beams of pure energy that cut through alien shields like they weren't there. The first Zephyrian cruiser exploded in less than 30 seconds. The second followed moments later. Nephrite captains watched in horror as their massive battle platforms designed to withstand direct hits from antimatter bombs crumpled under weapons that seemed to rewrite reality. "Impossible," whispered Fleet Commander Nexhai from his flagship. "Our shields should stop anything they have." "Sir, they're not using conventional weapons," his science officer reported. "These energy signatures, they're manipulating space-time itself." The battle lasted 14 minutes. When it ended, 48 Federation ships were nothing but glowing debris. The 12 human vessels hadn't suffered a single scratch. Commander Taylor opened a communication channel to the surviving escape pods. "Tell your leaders what you saw here today. Tell them this was just the beginning." Similar battles erupted across human space. At New Atlantis, Captain Beth Clark showed the galaxy what humanity had learned about gravity. Her ships created artificial black holes that swallowed entire enemy squadrons. The Federation fleet sent to capture the colony simply vanished into points of impossible darkness. At Olympus Station, Major Pete Kumar released swarms of microscopic machines that ate through alien hulls like acid through paper. The attacking ships fell apart from the inside, their crews evacuating in panic as their vessels dissolved around them. On Earth, Dr. Susan Martinez stood before the cameras in the Global Research Institute. Behind her, screens showed images that made alien scientists weep with despair. "You see us as violent because we came from a violent world," she explained to the galaxy. "But you never asked the right question. You never wondered why we survived when millions of other species on Earth did not." The screens showed human innovations that violated everything the Federation thought they knew about science. Faster than light. Communication systems that used quantum entanglement. Matter conversion technology that could turn asteroids into starships. Temporal manipulation devices that let humans see attacks before they happened. "Evolution never stops," Martinez continued. "For 3 million years, Earth tried to kill us. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, climate changes that would have wiped out any other species. But we adapted. We learned. We became something new." She turned to face a new screen showing human genetic analysis. "You thought you understood us because you met our diplomats and farmers. You never met the humans who conquered a death world. You never realized that every human alive today carries the genes of survivors." The most shocking revelation came when Martinez showed the timeline of human development. Every major breakthrough in human technology had happened in the past 30 years. Faster than light travel, energy weapons, artificial intelligence, genetic enhancement. All of it developed while humans pretended to be peaceful farmers and merchants. "You were studying us," Martinez said with a cold smile. "But we were studying you too. Every trade agreement gave us access to your technology. Every cultural exchange taught us your weaknesses. Every inspection of our facilities let us see exactly what you expected to find." On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Carter watched reports flowing in from across the galaxy. Human fleets were winning every battle, often without taking any damage at all. The Federation's numerical advantage meant nothing against technology that seemed to come from the future. "Admiral, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 different systems. reported Communications Officer Dan Murphy. The Luxari are asking for terms. The Nephrites want to negotiate. Even some Zephyrian commanders are requesting ceasefire. Carter shook her head. No negotiations. No ceasefires. They had 30 years to treat us as equals. They chose slavery. Instead, she opened a channel to all human forces. Continue the advance. Every Federation fleet that enters human space is to be destroyed. Every colony that refuses to acknowledge human authority is to be occupied. Show them the same mercy they plan to show us. The orders were carried out with terrifying efficiency. Human ships appeared in Federation space like ghosts, striking without warning and vanishing before enemy reinforcements could arrive. Colony worlds that had been Federation strongholds for centuries fell in hours. But the humans weren't just winning battles. They were rewriting the rules of warfare itself. Captain Mary Foster demonstrated this at the Battle of Kepler Station. Her single ship faced a Federation fleet of 80 vessels. Instead of fighting them, she used a device that created a temporary wormhole, sending the entire enemy fleet into the heart of a nearby star. Warfare is problem-solving, she explained to the few surviving alien officers. Humans have been solving impossible problems for millions of years. You just became our latest problem. The psychological impact was devastating. Federation crews began deserting their ships rather than face human forces. Entire star systems surrendered without firing a shot. The mighty Federation that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years was collapsing in weeks. On Zentara Prime, the Federation Council met in emergency session. Representatives who had been confident and arrogant just days before now looked terrified. How do we stop them? Asked Aqualord Nethys, his water suit trembling with fear. We can't, replied Intelligence Chief Ralphie. Our analysis shows they've been preparing for this for decades, maybe centuries. Every human in the galaxy has been part of an intelligence operation. Every trade deal, every treaty, every friendly conversation was gathering information for this moment. Chancellor Vextai's insect body shook with rage and terror. Then what do you suggest, surrender? Yes, said a new voice from the chamber entrance. Admiral Carter walked into the Federation Council chambers as if she owned them. Her simple human uniform looked out of place among the elaborate alien decorations, but her presence filled the room with quiet authority. You will surrender, she said calmly. Not because we're merciful, but because you finally learned what Deathworlders really are. We're not the species you can pet and control. We're the species that conquered the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. She looked around the room at faces that had been laughing at human requests just days before. You wanted to put us in cages. Instead, you've put yourselves in one. The cage is called human space, and it's getting bigger every day. The Federation had awakened something they couldn't control. The Deathworlders had stopped playing by alien rules and started playing by the rules of Earth. In a galaxy of prey species, the ultimate predator had finally revealed itself. 6 months after the Federation's ultimatum, the galaxy looked completely different. Human ships moved through space like they owned it, and in many ways, they did. What had once been alien territory now flew human flags. Admiral Helen Carter stood in what used to be the Federation Council chambers on Zentara Prime. The great crystal dome still sparkled with alien technology, but now human officers sat in the seats once reserved for alien leaders. The roles had reversed so completely that some days Carter could hardly believe it. Admiral, the morning report, said her aide, Colonel Jake Henderson, handing her a data tablet. The numbers told the story of humanity's incredible expansion. In 6 months, human space had grown from 12 colonies to over 200 worlds. Carter scrolled through the reports. The Zephyrian homeworld had surrendered after a 3-day siege. The Nephrite ocean worlds were now protected by human fleets. The Luxari crystal cities served as data processing centers for the expanding human empire. What about the resistance groups? Carter asked. Henderson's expression darkened. The Vorthan are still fighting. They launched another attack on New Eden yesterday. Carter sighed. Most alien species had accepted their new reality with surprising speed. The Zephyrians were efficient workers once their hive mind was directed toward productive goals. The Nephrites maintained underwater cities that humans found uncomfortable. The Luxari used their crystalline forms to manage vast computer networks, but some species refused to adapt. The Vorthon had been aggressive warriors for thousands of years. Their culture was built on conquest and domination. They couldn't accept being conquered themselves, so they kept fighting hopeless battles against human forces. "How many ships did they lose this time?" Carter asked. "All of them," Henderson replied. Captain Mary Foster's response was thorough. Carter nodded grimly. Captain Foster commanded the human vessel Retribution, a ship designed for the most extreme responses. When alien forces threatened human civilians, Foster showed them why Earth was called a death world. The report from New Eden made for disturbing reading. The Vorthon fleet had attacked the colony while Foster's ship was on patrol nearby. The aliens had probably thought they could destroy the human settlement before help arrived. They were wrong. Foster had responded with humanity's most terrible weapon, the ability to make stars explode. The Vorthon attack force and their 3 closest worlds had vanished in nuclear fire that could be seen from halfway across the galaxy. "Sir," Henderson continued, "we're receiving surrender offers from 12 Vorthon colonies. They're begging for protection from Captain Foster." "Grant it," Carter said without hesitation. "But make sure they understand the terms. Complete surrender. No weapons. No independent military. They follow human law, or they join their homeworld." The transformation of the galaxy had been surprisingly smooth in most places. Humans had studied alien psychology for 30 years, learning exactly how each species thought and what motivated them. They knew which groups would fight and which would submit. They knew how to manage different alien cultures without destroying them completely. Most aliens discovered that life under human rule was actually better than their previous existence. The Zephyrians had been locked in constant civil wars between competing hive minds. Human authority gave them peace and direction. The Nephrites had struggled with resource shortages on their water worlds. Human technology solved their problems. Overnight, even the proud Luxari found benefits in their new situation. Their crystalline minds were perfect for managing the complex data networks that coordinated human space. In exchange, humans protected their cities and gave them access to research that would have taken them centuries to develop alone. But integration wasn't always easy. Dr. Kevin Walsh walked through the research facility on Europa Station, observing the mixed teams of human and alien scientists. The work being done here would have been impossible just months ago. Human creativity combined with alien knowledge was producing breakthroughs at an incredible pace. "Doctor, the Luxari team has finished the quantum computer analysis," reported Dr. Nancy Kim. "They've found a way to increase processing speed by 400%. Walsh nodded approvingly. "And the Zephyrian group? They've solved the matter transmission problem. We can now teleport objects up to 50 meters across space instantly." These advances were typical of human-alien cooperation. Humans provided the innovative thinking that could leap past traditional scientific barriers. Aliens contributed specialized knowledge and unique perspectives that no human mind could match. But the real genius was in how humans had restructured galactic society. Governor Frank Roberts stood on the balcony of his office on New Terra, looking out at a city that showcased the new galactic order. Humans and aliens walked the same streets, but everyone understood the hierarchy. Humans made the important decisions. Aliens contributed their skills and knowledge. Everyone benefited from the arrangement. "Governor, the Nephrite delegation is here for the trade meeting," announced his secretary, a Luxari crystal being named Veltar, who had once been a Federation diplomat. Robert smiled. 6 months ago, Veltar had been translating human requests to alien masters. Now the former diplomat managed Roberts's schedule and handled routine administrative tasks. The reversal of roles was complete, but Veltar seemed genuinely happy with the change. The trade meeting demonstrated how thoroughly human control had transformed the galaxy. Nephrite ocean farms produced food that fed dozens of worlds. Zephyrian manufacturing hives built everything from starships to household goods. Luxari data networks coordinated transportation across thousands of star systems. All of it was managed by human administrators who made decisions based on efficiency and mutual benefit, rather than the complex political games that had dominated Federation space. The productivity reports are remarkable, Veltar noted after the meeting ended. Resource distribution is 60% more efficient than under Federation management. Roberts wasn't surprised. The Federation had been a democracy of equals, which meant every decision required lengthy debates and political compromises. Human rule was simpler. Humans decided what needed to be done, and everyone else did it. But the new system worked because humans had learned from 30 years of careful observation. They understood what each alien species needed to be happy and productive. The Zephyrians needed clear hierarchy and purposeful work. The Nephrites needed security and access to water. The Luxari needed intellectual challenges and data to process. Humans provided all of these things, and in return received loyalty and cooperation. The only exceptions were species like the Vorthan, whose warrior culture couldn't adapt to subordinate roles. For them, humans offered a simple choice: surrender or extinction. Most chose surrender. Captain Beth Clark received orders while patrolling the outer regions of human space. Her ship, the Ascendant, was one of the new supervessels that served as mobile command centers for expanding human territory. "Captain, we're receiving a distress call from the Corvani Republic," reported her communications officer. "They're requesting human protection from Vorthan raiders." Clark smiled. The Corvani had been neutral during the early stages of human expansion, neither supporting nor opposing humanity's rise to power. Now they were learning that neutrality was no longer an option. "Send them our standard terms," Clark ordered. "Complete integration into human space. Full access to their territory and resources. Corvani leaders report to human administrators. If they accept, we'll deal with their Vorthan problem." The message was sent, and the reply came back within hours. The Corvani Republic voted unanimously to join human space. They would rather be junior partners in a human empire than victims of Vorthan aggression. Clark's fleet moved to Corvani space and eliminated the Vorthan raiders in a matter of hours. The surviving Vorthan ships fled toward their remaining strongholds, carrying news of another human victory. By the end of the month, 17 more star systems had requested human protection. Each one accepted the same terms: safety and prosperity, in exchange for loyalty and integration. The pattern was becoming clear across the galaxy. Species that adapted to human rule thrived. Those that resisted were eliminated. Those caught in between quickly learned to choose sides. Admiral Carter reviewed the reports from her office on Zentara Prime. In 6 months, humanity had gone from 12 colonies to an empire spanning nearly a quarter of the known galaxy. The expansion showed no signs of slowing. "Admiral," Colonel Henderson said, entering with the daily intelligence briefing, "we've received word from deep space scouts. There are other galaxies beyond our current range, with civilizations that might challenge our expansion." Carter looked up from her reports with interest. "How many galaxies?" "Thousands, sir. Maybe millions." Carter stood and walked to the great windows that looked out over Zentara Prime. Once this had been the capital of an alien empire that ruled over dozens of species. Now it was just another human world, its alien population integrated into the growing human civilization. "Then we'll need to build more ships," she said calmly, "and train more officers." The galaxy was just the beginning. The Deathworlders had tasted victory, and they wanted more. 50 years had passed since the day humans stopped playing fair. The galaxy was a different place now, and so was humanity itself. Admiral Jake Henderson stood on the observation deck of the Exodus, a ship so massive it could carry entire cities, between the stars. Through the transparent walls, he watched construction platforms the size of moons building vessels that would carry humanity to distant galaxies. Henderson was old now, one of the last people who remembered the time before, human dominance. His grandfather had been Colonel Jake Henderson, aide to the legendary Admiral Carter. The family name carried weight in human space, but Jake had earned his rank through skill and determination. "Admiral, the Deep Space Scouts have returned," reported Captain Lisa Martinez, his second in command. They found 17 habitable galaxies within range of our new drive systems. Henderson nodded as he reviewed the reports. Humanity had not been idle during their 50 years of galactic rule. Human scientists, working with the best alien minds, had solved problems that once seemed impossible. Faster than light travel between galaxies, matter conversion on a stellar scale, energy sources that could power civilizations for millions of years. But the most important discovery was still Earth itself. Dr. Carol Stevens walked through the research complex on humanity's homeworld, past laboratories where scientists studied the planet that had created the galaxy's dominant species. 50 years of research had revealed secrets that explained why humans had succeeded where others failed. "Doctor, we've completed the genetic analysis of the latest samples," said her assistant, Dr. Ben Walsh, grandson of the Kevin Walsh who had unlocked humanity's hidden potential decades ago. Stevens examined the data with satisfaction. "Perfect. Show me the comparison charts." The screens displayed information that would have shocked the old Federation. Every human alive carried genetic modifications that had been accumulating for millions of years. Earth's hostile environment hadn't just selected for survival, it had created a species designed for expansion and conquest. Humans healed faster than any other known species. They adapted to new environments within a single generation. Their brains could process information in ways that even the most advanced aliens couldn't match. Most importantly, they possessed an instinct for cooperation that let them work together on a scale that other species found impossible. "The neural pathway analysis is particularly interesting," Dr. Walsh noted. "Human brains are actually designed to handle multiple forms of consciousness simultaneously. That's why we can coordinate with alien species so effectively." Stevens smiled. "And why we can manage an empire spanning multiple galaxies without losing efficiency." The evidence was all around them. Human space now included 4 complete galaxies and parts of 6 others. Trillions of beings lived under human administration, from dozens of different species. Yet the system worked smoothly because humans understood both leadership and cooperation in ways that no other species could match. On New Terra, President Danny Rodriguez Jr. addressed the Galactic Assembly, a governing body that would have seemed impossible in the old Federation days. Representatives from 47 species sat in the Great Hall, but everyone understood who was really in charge. "The expansion to the Andromeda cluster has been approved," Rodriguez announced. "Colony ships will depart next month, carrying volunteers from 16 different species." The alien representatives applauded politely. They had learned to appreciate human leadership over the decades. Life was better under human rule than it had ever been under the chaotic Federation system. In the audience, an elderly Luxari named Veltar remembered the old days when aliens had made decisions and humans had begged for permission. The crystal being had served as a translator in those times, watching human diplomats ask politely for basic rights. Now Veltar managed administrative systems for 12 star systems, working directly with human governors who treated alien contributions with respect and appreciation. The work was more challenging and rewarding than anything the Federation had offered. The transformation hadn't been without costs, of course. Species that couldn't adapt to human leadership had faced difficult choices. The Vorthan had fought until only a few thousand survivors remained, now living quietly on reservation worlds. Other aggressive species had learned to channel their instincts into productive activities under human guidance, but most aliens had discovered that human rule brought benefits they had never imagined. Peace between species that had fought for millennia. Technological advances that improved life for everyone. Expansion into new territories that offered opportunities for growth and exploration. Captain Mary Foster, now Fleet Admiral Foster, stood in the command center of the largest human military base watching ships prepare for the next phase of expansion. Her hair was white with age, but her eyes still held the cold determination that had made her famous throughout the galaxy. "Admiral, the Titan-class ships are ready for deployment," reported her aide, a young human officer who had never known a time when aliens ruled the galaxy. Foster nodded as she examined the vessels through the observation windows. Each ship was the size of a small moon, capable of establishing complete human colonies in distant star systems. They carried everything needed to transform empty space into thriving centers of civilization. But they also carried weapons that could destroy entire star systems if necessary. "How many species have we encountered beyond our current territory?" Foster asked. "The Deep Space Scouts have made contact with 43 different civilizations," the aide replied. "Most are willing to discuss peaceful integration. 7 have expressed hostility toward human expansion." Foster's expression didn't change. "Send them the standard message. Join us willingly, or we'll show them what Deathworlders do to threats." The message had been the same for 50 years, and the results were always predictable. Species that accepted human leadership prospered. Those that resisted learned why Earth was the most dangerous planet in the known universe. On a small colony, whirled at the edge of human space, an alien child asked her grandmother about the old days. The elderly Zephyrian's insect eyes dimmed with remembered fear as she told the story that every species knew by heart. "Long ago, little one, the galaxy was ruled by many different peoples. We thought we were strong and wise. We thought we understood the universe and our place in it." The child listened with fascination as her grandmother continued. "Then came the humans from the death world called Earth. At first we thought they were weak because they asked for things instead of taking them. We thought they were foolish because they followed our rules instead of making their own." "What happened then, grandmother?" The old Zephyrian's voice became very quiet. "We tried to make them slaves. We forgot that they came from a world that spent millions of years trying to kill them. We forgot that anything which survives such a place must be more dangerous than the things that tried to destroy it. And then they stopped pretending to be harmless. In a single day, they revealed weapons and ships and technologies that we never imagined possible. They had been studying us for decades, learning our weaknesses, preparing for the moment when they would need to fight." The grandmother looked out at the peaceful human settlement where they lived. Human children played with alien children in parks maintained by human administrators. The air was clean. The food was plentiful, and nobody feared war or starvation. The humans won because they were better at war than anyone else in the galaxy, but they also won because they were better at peace. They gave us purpose and security that we had never known before. "Are the humans good or bad, grandmother?" The old Zephyrian considered the question carefully. "They are what they needed to be to survive their world. And because they survived it, the rest of us can survive in theirs." High above the colony, human ships continued their patrol routes, protecting the mixed communities that had become the foundation of galactic civilization. The vessels were sleek and powerful, carrying descendants of the species that had once laughed at human requests for equality. Admiral Henderson received the final reports of the day as he prepared for sleep aboard the Exodus. Human expansion continued at an incredible pace. New colonies, new technologies, new species joining the ever-growing empire. But the most important report came from Earth itself, where scientists continued studying the planet that had created humanity. Recent discoveries suggested that Earth's hostile environment had been shaped by forces that nobody yet understood. The planet seemed almost designed to create the perfect species for galactic domination. "Admiral," Captain Martinez said as she delivered the overnight briefings, "the science teams want to know if we should investigate the anomalies they've found in Earth's geological record." Henderson looked at the data showing strange patterns in Earth's development over millions of years. Natural disasters that seemed to occur at precisely the right times to drive evolution in specific directions. Environmental changes that forced humanity to develop exactly the traits needed for space travel and empire building. "No," he decided after long consideration. "Some questions are better left unanswered. We know what we are and what we can do. That's enough." The truth was that humans had become something beyond what anyone